It's the 8th of April, I'm Tom Glasson, welcome to The Roast. Now, in honour of the Renewable Energy Review, we have powered our entire studio and me with solar energy. There is a cloud coming, could someone please power up the coal-powered... generator. Tonight on The Roast, Australia signs a trade deal with Japan and the Renewable Energy Agency may have its funding cut. But first, Mark Humphries has the headlines.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have kicked off their Australasian tour, landing in New Zealand yesterday. Unfortunately, the Royals had a rough flight because they had to sit next to a baby. Kiwis were excited to see the Royals in the flesh, with one observer saying,
"I'd love to shake their hand because one of them has probably patted the Queen's corgi."
I do believe we have footage of the New Zealander who said that. A new McDonald's has opened in the Victorian town of Tacoma after 3 years of controversy and protests. According to the ABC, local residents say the restaurant does not suit the character of the town. What's the deal, Tacoma? Is a little bit fancy not fancy enough for you? The protesters say they will return every day until the company closes the franchise down. Sure, you say that now, but I also said I'd only eat McDonald's once a week. What? The camera adds £10. Olympic gold medalist Shane Gould has said that Australia should lower its expectations for our national swimming team.
I think, yes, the days of Australia's dominance in swimming is over.
It's over, so expect less air guitar and more air trombone. Former Prime Minister Julia Gillard has drawn comparisons between her time as PM and the TV show Game of Thrones, because what else is she going to do? Miss Gillard wrote that her colleagues in Canberra ruthlessly pursue power, like the characters in Game of Thrones, but are nowhere near as good looking or exotically dressed. Sometimes I think Dame Quentin Bryce got dressed up for nothing. Personally, Game of Thrones isn't the HBO TV show I would compare Parliament to. I'd go for The Newsroom, since I'd like it cancelled. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Well, first up, last night saw Australia and Japan sign a landmark free trade agreement, which is either a key economic platform or a plan to liberate a political prisoner named Trade Agreement. And that is bad news for Mr. Agreement because we do not negotiate with terrorists. And since the free trade agreement will allow Australia to sell more beef, wine and milk to Japan, it is big news for our farmers. So we're going to add them to the list of people who have benefited directly under an Abbott government, alongside our Dames, Knights and Andrew Bolts. And since the FTA will make Japanese cars, televisions and cameras cheaper in Australia, we'll also add to that list your Uncle Kevin, who's really been getting into photography lately. So it's good news for Australian trade, but bad news for cows who enjoy not being eaten, because the Australia-Japan Free Trade Agreement will also see a rise in beef exports. And after last week's decision to stop Japanese whaling, Australian cow meat will now be marketed to the Japanese as the whale of the land. But 7:30's Sarah Ferguson, not to be confused with the English toe-sucking Duchess of the same name, was not all smiles about this historic achievement and went on the offensive against Australia's Minister for Trade and secret Kevin Rudd evil twin, Andrew Robb.
What was the biggest disappointment for you in the deal?
I don't want to talk about disappointment, Sarah. Look, the fact we should be celebrating, it's been 7 years in the making.
Yeah, cut that Rudd light a break. This is as good as it gets when you have the most boring job in cabinet. But instead of joining in the celebrations, Ferguson went into a strangely food-specific line of questioning.
But let me just come in on the cheese question. Just briefly on the beef, though. Let me ask you about the sugar.
I don't know, maybe she just skipped dinner. The negotiations did go for 7 years.
7 years, Tom. That's like 4 prime ministers ago. 5 if you count Rudd twice, which he totally would.
Still, they must be delighted to have finally reached an agreement.
Yeah, you'd think so. I don't know if I could handle 7 years of this.
So we can both agree that paragraph 77, subsection 86, is finalised.
I'm still having issue with subparagraph 483 and the definition of point 322.
That's lunch.
By Australian.
Yeah, right. Hey, so what changed this year to finally make it all happen?
Well, one of the big things stopping a free trade agreement with Japan was that we had a tariff to protect the Australian car industry. But now there is no Australian car industry to protect. Problem solved.
I'm sorry, you're saying that Tony Abbott killed the Australian car industry to make this agreement happen?
Oh, Tom, I would never say something like that.
Okay.
But I can't make the same promise for this animation I both drew and voiced. Let's have a look. Hello, I'm the Prime Minister. The car industry is dying. Don't worry, I'll save you. Wait, I have another call. Hold the line, please. Hello, Japanese Prime Minister Abe. We can have a free trade deal if I let the car industry die. Hold the line, please. Hello, car industry? I'm not going to save you. Abe, we're on. I'm the big boss. The end.
That's very nice.
And if it turns out to be true, me and Teddy Maguire here will be waiting for our Walkley.
All right, thank you, Nick. But it's not just Japan we're getting closer to, with additional free trade agreements currently being negotiated or concluded in South Korea, China, India, and Indonesia, which means Tony Abbott really has a Pacific Rim fetish. Alex Lee has been travelling with the Prime Minister, and she joins us now with this exclusive insight into his itinerary.
Now, Tom, I'm here under the negotiation table in Seoul, where Tony Abbott is expected to sign the free trade agreement with South Korea after just finalising the details of a historic agreement in Japan yesterday. However, after this, Abbott is also hoping to sign a trade deal with China, who won't be too happy about Australia deepening its ties with Japan. Now, the problem with this diplomatic game of footsie is that eventually Abbott's going to get caught out, and he isn't even trying to be careful with his flirting. Publicly, he has described Japan as our best friend in Asia. Yet he's also described Indonesia as our most important relationship, whilst also saying it's hard to overstate the importance and the strength of Australia's relationship with China. Now, having just gained exclusive access to the Prime Minister's profile on Tinder, we can see that he's shown a deep level of interest in every country he sees. He's hot for China, keen on Thailand, and if you look at Japan's profile, you can see they've both got beef listed in their shared interests. Yet China still haven't got over their messy breakup with Japan, so if they discover that Japan and Australia have been flirting, well, we might have to start buying our Australian flags somewhere else.
Thank you, Alex. Incidentally, how are you planning on getting out of there?
I haven't worked that out yet.
Have you ever been stuck under a table full of foreign diplomats? What kind of knees did you encounter? Why don't you jump on Twitter and send us a picture of one of those weird knees? We'd love to hear about it at the Roast TV or hashtag RoastTV.
Well, finally tonight, the solar panel company First Solar says it may refrain from making any further investments in Australia due to uncertainty surrounding the future of our renewable energy sector. Right now, our renewable energy target, or RET, aims to deliver the equivalent of 20% of Australia's electricity from renewable sources by the year 2020. However, in February of this year, the Abbott government announced a review of that scheme. Review, according to one senior Liberal, being code for "let's kill the RET." But perhaps that's just a misquote.
Would you like to see it scrapped?
We need to see it wound back in terms of its ambition, and gradually phased out would be desirable from the perspective of industry and energy users.
Yeah, so it was just a misquote. Industry groups don't want to just kill the renewable target, they want to crush it first by tearing down its hopes and dreams. So when it comes to this review, who is in charge of deciding the fate of the renewable energy target?
Let's just have a look at the makeup of the panel who are going to consider this review. Dick Warburton is a self-avowed sceptic. His views on the subject are well known. We've also got Brian Fisher, who has a long history of being opposed to pricing mechanisms in this area. It does sound as though the outcome of the review is to some extent preordained.
You think? 15 seconds ago, the chief economist from the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry just said he wanted to drag the target out onto the street and curb stomp it. This is a review panel made up of people who hate solar panels. They cringe at just being referred to as a panel. No wonder the solar industry is finding it pretty tough to convince them.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present to you the solution to our energy needs. Solar energy. Clean, limitless, free energy. Forever.
And what's that?
That's the sun. It's perfect for you. Australia is the sun country. Queensland is literally called the Sunshine State. Your best place to make maximum profit from solar energy.
Well, I do like profit. But isn't it going to take a lot of effort to lay down all the pipe we'll need to reach the sun?
No, that's not how it works. Let me start again.
It's true the mechanics of the solar industry might take older energy types a little while to get their head around, but apart from that, you'd have to imagine supporting renewable energy would be pretty cut and dry.
No, you see, it gets here by itself.
Right, OK, so I get that we don't need a massive space pipe.
OK, good.
OK, and to turn a profit, will we be exporting any sunlight of our own?
No, because we're not the sun.
Oh, right. Sorry, which one's the sun?
Okay, so this coffee cup is the sun, and this pen is the earth.
Okay, and what's this coffee cup?
It's just a coffee cup.
Okay, so how many suns are there? All right, so we're going to have to totally redesign our trucks to gather sunlight direct from the coffee cup.
No. No one needs to be driving trucks anywhere.
Why, is the sun going to drive them?
The sun doesn't drive!
Well, who's driving the trucks? This is ridiculous. Man's talking about sun trucks.
No, he's not. No one mentioned sun trucks. It's not that complicated. Solar energy literally falls out of the sky. It is free electricity rain. How much more negative spin can you put on it?
Yep, so I think you're turning us around on this whole sun thing. Just a small concern, with everything being solar powered, think of all the skin cancer everyone will get, yeah? So we need to put a positive spin on it. And I was thinking maybe for the kids, sun truck lunchbox.
Fine, but are you going to switch to solar?
Yeah, it seems like the best way to go forward.
Oh, thank God, that's fantastic!
One final question. How are we going to get the sun into the ground?
Into the ground?
Yeah, so our miners can dig it up.
You're dumb.
Bunch of idiots. It's obviously not my sun truck lunchbox. It's for my son, Tom Glasson, named after his father. Hey, Tom, Daddy got you a lunchbox. Thanks, Dad.
Teddy Maguire can see your mouth moving, Tom.
Good night.